Welcome back, Foxy Games UK new and existing subscribers. It is Wednesday, September 30. In today's news, one of the most anticipated holiday game releases this year, Cyberpunk 2077 developer CD Projekt Red has come under scrutiny for what some are calling unreasonable work practices as the game studio enters the dreaded Crunchtime mode in order to make its November 10 release date. Sourced via a report published via Jason Schreier via Bloomberg.com, Cyberpunk 2077 publisher orders a 6-day working week ahead of the game's debut. Here's the full story. So, Polish video game developer CD Projekt Red told employees on Monday that a 6-day work week will be mandatory leading up to November release of the highly anticipated Cyberpunk 2077, reneging on an earlier promise to not force overtime on the project. Now, CDPR, a subsidiary of Poland's biggest gaming company, CD Projekt SA, has been criticized previously for engaging in crunch, an industry term for excessive overtime in game development. The practice often lasts for weeks and can stretch out for months or even years. CD Projekt Red co-chief executive officer Marcin Iwinski last year told gaming website Kotaku that the company would be avoiding mandatory crunch and was committed to allowing employees to work without overtime. But an account from a CD Projekt Red employee recently, as well as an email to staff earlier this week, indicate that the company hasn't lived up to its word. Now, the employee who asked not to be named, discussing private information, said some staff had already been putting in nights and weekends for more than a year now. In the email, CD Projekt Red studio head Adam Badowski wrote that he was optimistic about the state of Cyberpunk 2077, which stars Keanu Reeves, and that they had just sent the game to be certified for release on Sony Corp's PlayStation and Microsoft's Xbox. Now, he wrote, it was time to fix the game's many lingering bugs and glitches. Here's a quote. Starting today, the entire development studio is in overdrive. Badowski wrote, elaborating that this is meant to be your typical amount of work and one day of the week. This extra work will be paid as required by Polish labor laws. Many other video game studios don't pay overtime. He went on to say, I take it upon myself to receive the full backlash for the decision. I know this is indirect opposition to what we've said about crunch. It's also indirect opposition to what I personally grew to believe a while back, that crunch should never be the answer, but we've extended all other possible means of navigating the situation. I suppose I don't want to delay it again then. So CD Projekt Red didn't immediately respond to a request for comment, but last year Iwinski and Badowski told Kotaku that they were looking to make CD Projekt Red a more humane place to work. We are known for treating gamers with respect. I actually would like for us to also be known for treating developers with respect. According to reports, those words did not age well. And that's where the article abruptly ends for non-subscribers, because Bloomberg.com would prefer you pay it £110 UK annually, and I won't. So we'll just have to fill in the blanks as we go along. CD Projekt Red keeps its staff working, no chance of a lie in bed. Monday morning, but keep your head up. It's a 6-day week, so please shut the I've lost none of my poetic skill, it seems. Now, the studio famed for its Witcher series is coming under a lot of fire over breaking its word as an employer when it promised it would treat staff fairly. And I mean, this is not a voluntary thing. The 6-day week is mandatory. It must be done, or I assume you're in deep, well, you know. So CDPR's latest production, Cyberpunk 2077, has already been delayed, I think twice already if my memory serves me correctly. Now, the studio is really held in high regard by many players, the media and the like, but after it promised Kotaku a while back that it would not be forcing its staff to enter the Crunchtime mode, but has seemingly broken that promise. Reluctantly, it would seem, if you take the words as they are. Now, Sony Supremo studio Naughty Dog was heavily criticized over its crunch time of The Last of Us Part 2, and rightly so. Even to this day, people are dragging Naughty Dog. Look, here's the thing. Many people are happy to work 6 days. Hell, they'll even do the occasional 7 days, but at their own discretion. It's one thing to be volunteering for overtime and being paid for it, but to be told, no, you have to do this, and by the way, you may not be getting paid either, completely and utterly unacceptable. Now that doesn't seem to be the case in terms of pay, but we'll go on. Now, as much as I adore this studio's past work, this, I'm afraid, is not very respectful to employees CD Projekt Red, and it really gives the studio held in much revere a bit of a tarnished, image. However, following the descent, an update to this story has been reported by gamesindustry.biz. CD Projekt Red reportedly enforcing mandatory crunch time on Cyberpunk 2077, but there's an update. Studio head Adam Badowski assures everyone is well compensated for every extra hour they put in, assuming under Polish labor laws. So yeah, we just really discovered, I just covered really the Bloomberg reports that CD Projekt Red, did I say CD again? CD Projekt Red employees have been told that working 6 days per week will be mandatory. There's an ugly word. Nobody likes mandatory. Apparently the order came via an email from studio head. As mentioned before, Adam Badowski shared with the site via an anonymous source which said that as of Monday, the entire development studio is in overdrive. However, Bloomberg's source says that some staff have already been working additional nights and weekends for over a year. Now, adhering to Polish labor laws, overtime, as I say, will be paid, but it directly contradicts promises made by the studio management over a year ago. Now, co-founder Marcin Iwinski said in May 2019 that the studio would have a non-obligatory crunch policy, meaning staff may be asked to work nights and weekends but were not required to do so. But that quickly changed to mandatory. Now, at the time, Badowski emphasized that over the course of a, say, 4 to 5 year production like Cyberpunk 2077, there will only be brief periods of crunch in the run-up to an E3 presentation, for example, but most of the time the studio is super normal. Now, both Iwinski and Badowski hoped that the policy would help address criticism received in 2017 when the studio faced a slew of negative Glassdoor reviews about its excessive crunch, mismanagement and poor pay during the development of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Joint CEO Adam Kaczynski, I hope I'm not butchering these names, confirmed earlier this year that the staff had already been required to crunch on Cyberpunk 2077 to some degree. Now, the current situation stems from CD Projekt Red's desire to eliminate the remaining glitches and bugs in Cyberpunk 2077 as its November 19 launch date approaches. The game has already been sent to really be certified by PlayStation and Xbox. Badowski acknowledged the mandatory 6-day weeks breaks the promises made last year. But boy, has this game seen some delays. Cyberpunk 2077 was originally due for release in April, believe it or not, but was later delayed to September and then again to November, giving the studio an extra 7 months of development time, but yet they're still in this crunch time mode. It's rather bizarre. GamesIndustry.biz has reached out to CD Projekt Red for comment. So what do we expect could happen here, people? Another delay perhaps into the 22nd century? No, into the first quarter of 2021. Not very desirable from my point of view, but honestly, I can wait a few extra months if it means staff can work at a steady pace and still find the time to spend with friends and family. I suspect that only the most entitled among us would object to another delay. Yes, it sucks, but you know. Oh boy, this appears to be transpiring into a hot mess. I'm sure we won't have heard the last of this. Part 2. So what say you? Go ahead, sound off, share your thoughts and opinions on today's news, because that unfortunately brings us to the end of another video, but let's continue the discussion cordially in the comments. For all your current and next-gen news updates, rumour and rampant speculation, hit the like button, spread the word, and yes, keep it locked. Foxy Games UK. Subscribe to Foxy Games UK, remember to hit the notification bell so you never miss content, thumbs up if you like it here, and help us reach more like-minded gamers simply by sharing the video. Consider supporting Foxy Games UK via Patreon, link in this video's description is available. I truly appreciate the support. That concludes our time together on this Wednesday. Certainly great hanging out. Until the next time, play games, not corporations.